Trauma bonding is a very peculiar thing because you don't understand how a person that claims to love you so much can hurt you so badly. And worst of all, you don't understand why, despite them hurting you, despite you knowing that they're abusing you, despite you knowing that you deserve better, why you are bonded with this person, why you seem addicted to this person, why are you so in love with this person that you feel that you cannot breathe and not exist without them. Is it this force of love that's driving this bond, or is it the fact that you've become addicted to this person due to the emotional roller coaster they're putting you on? So I wanted to do a video today to explain what trauma bonding is if you don't already know, but most importantly, I wanted to explain to you what trauma bonding feels like. Not in terms of scientific signs and symptoms, but actually get to you on a more personal level, even bringing some of my examples that hopefully you can relate to, because I was trauma bonded to a person for about 8 years. And I was bonded to a person that lived across the Atlantic. We were in completely different countries. We had an 8-hour time difference, and I managed to bond with them, trauma bond with them, despite those factors. So, if you have no idea who I am, and you just stumbled in this video, and you see this blonde girl rambling away, my name is Olympia, and with my studies in cognitive neuroscience and art history, what I like to do, I like to dissect that pretty little brain of yours to see what makes you tick, but also makes you talk. That sounded a bit creepy. So if you haven't already, make sure to smash the subscribe button and ring that bell for your weekly Thursday videos. And let's start. First of all, for those old to my channel, welcome back. For those new, welcome to the G-Spot, aka the gaslighting spot. This is a safe place where we talk about gaslighting, emotional abuse, and in this case, what is trauma bonding and what it truly feels like on a more deep personal level and psychological level. So let's start. So trauma bonding is basically having this physiological, emotional, even hormonal response to your abuser. If you've heard of Stockholm Syndrome, it's kind of like what Belle from Beauty and the Beast had, where she was captured and then she fell in love with her abuser, even though he wasn't really abusive, but she fell in love with the person that captured her and then didn't really want to leave. So if you think of Stockholm Syndrome, which is that, trauma bonding is like the even more emotionally complex cousin of the Stockholm Syndrome. And I'll explain soon what I mean by that. So first of all, this type of bond is created due to the cycle of abuse and positive reinforcement. It has been shown through studies that people that have created this bond actually have a physiological and hormonal response, an emotional response to this person. Hormones such as cortisol, the stress hormone, dopamine, the feel-good hormone, serotonin, the kind of what makes you feel happy hormone, and oxytocin, the love hormone. All these, I know I said I wasn't get too scientific, but bear with me, this is important. All these contribute to the trauma bond. So you basically get addicted to this push and pull technique, this punishment reward techniques, but the abuser is doing what is called negative connotation. So when you do something that they don't like, they will punish you. So they use the push-pull technique. So they push you away when you do something bad, and they pull you in when you do something good. That's how they control you. And so you get addicted to this emotional roller coaster because you know that once the cortisol, the stress hormone, hits in because you did something bad or because they're responding in a negative way, your body is expecting the pull and the positive reinforcement. It's expecting the moment when they take you back, the moment that they do something nice, the moment they reward you for being sorry for a negative action, basically the dopamine. So you are craving this dopamine hit because you have been conditioned to associate that after the cortisol, the stress hormone, comes the happy, the dopamine, and also the oxytocin, which is a love hormone, which keeps you into that relationship. So that is a bit of the psychology behind it, because I wanted to give you that little brief. So how does that feel like on an one-to-one level? You feel like you can't leave the house because something's going to happen. You feel like you have to rush back because you don't want to be away from your abuser. Another thing, this is something that I personally experience. I would be, for example, terrified to leave the abuser for long periods of time, which was very ironic considering that we did do a long distance relationship while they were in Europe and I was in America. But we would Skype every day for hours on end, even if we didn't have anything to say. So you feel like you can't be away from this person. And even when they're abusing you, even when they're treating you like trash, even when they're not showing you the love that you deserve and you want, that moment you may be like, okay, wow, I need a break. I can't do this. I need to refocus. This person is hurting me. But the moment they leave, the moment you get that time of like serenity where they've gone to hang out with their friends, or even in my case, time difference to go to sleep, you crave that dopamine hit. You're like, okay, I need them to come back again, or now I feel nervous. Like now I need them back. So it's an addiction. It truly is an addiction. It's just in this case, we've chosen who we're addicted to. We've chosen our target. Another thing that is characteristic of trauma bonding, and again, I'm using myself as an example, you hide your emotions. You don't want to, so if the person is happy, you don't want to show that you're sad. You do not want to burden them with your problems. You want to make sure that you reflect whatever they're showing and be supportive. You make excuses for that person's behavior, even if it's abusive, and you know it's abusive, because they're either having a bad day or they put up with you, and so you kind of deserve it. I mean, who else would want to be with you? For me, this was a huge personal hit because I have a lot of medical issues, and especially when I was with one of my partners, I had really bad cluster seizures, and it took a long time to get me stabilized. And I felt so guilty because when we first started dating, I actually didn't have this condition. They still don't know if it's epilepsy or not, but I didn't have this condition, and I felt so guilty inside that I trapped this person in a relationship with a sick person, because I was like on 10 different medication, and each medication had their side effects, and I felt that this person was basically, a gift sent from God, that they were putting up with me, that no one else in their mind would put up with a person that had so many medical problems at such a young age, that person would want to party and have a good life and have a girlfriend that's normal and healthy, and not a girlfriend that has to be hospitalized every so often, or falls down and has a seizure in front of everyone. And maybe that person is also embarrassed by the fact that I'm having a seizure. So all those things showed the extent of trauma bond that I had with this person. And like I said before, you get addicted to this emotional roller coaster. I knew if I was pushed, or if I was shout at, if I was called names, if I was be called out on what I was saying. Like, one of the characteristics of that relationship was that the person would say, every time I spoke in front of our friends, every time I said my opinion, they would respond with, oh my God, that is so stupid. Why would you say something so dumb? How can you be so dumb? And I went to a really high-class university, and I take pride in my intellect, and I am a huge nerd. And obviously that person knew that. So questioning my intelligence was a huge blow to my confidence, to the extent where after a while in the relationship, I was kind of shallow. I kind of mimicked their behaviors, and I didn't really know who I was, and I didn't really want to speak out loud anymore. I became very silent because whatever I said, according to them, was stupid. And even though I knew that was wrong in my core, in my gut, I allowed them to treat me that way because I love them so much, and I made excuses for their behaviors. Another thing is that you feel that you're walking on eggshells. I've said this in one of my other videos where when the beginning of the relationship, it's all about love bombing, it's all about grandiose actions. So one of my exes had said that they would jump in front of a bus for me, which I thought during that time was very romantic. I mean, willing to die for the other person when you've known them for less than a year is a huge statement to say, especially when you've only been dating a month. And that for me was very romantic. However, that would have remained romantic if that behavior didn't change in the future and that person didn't become more manipulative and say other things like that. So, like I said, I went from I'm walking on sunshine, yeah, to I'm walking on eggshells, no, and it doesn't feel good. My voice is closing up, so my singing abilities are like almost zero now. But basically, you feel like you're walking on eggshells constantly. You don't feel safe. You don't feel like you can trust that person with your deepest thoughts and emotions, which supposedly that is what a relationship is all about. Even though it's hard, the core of a healthy relationship is that you can trust them to be vulnerable in front of them, and you can trust them that they're not going to take advantage of that vulnerability. So the reason why I wanted to explain the neurological and the physiological changes by explaining these hormones is because the cortisol, the stress hormone, that leads to chronic stress, that leads to sleeping problems, it leads to vigilance, it leads to anger sometimes, it leads to depression, the fact that you feel like there's no hope. And all of these things, and let me know in the comments below, are things that I've experienced at some point in my relationships when it came to dealing with those manipulative exes. And again, it's not deep in my core, I knew something wasn't right. It's just that I had trauma bonded with that person to such an extent that I was in denial. I refused to admit that. So another type of excuse I would make is that, they're tired. They've been working all day, whereas I don't work as many hours. So I deserve to be lashed out on. I deserve for them to be angry at me because I said X, Y, Z, and like I said before, they thought that whatever I said was dumb. I thought that, obviously he has issues, and he may even had for one of my exes, he may even had a really bad childhood. So I should stay with them. I should stick with them. I should help them because I need to make them into a better person. I feel obligated because I love them so much that I have to turn them into something that honestly they're not. And if they're not willing to change, and I've said that in my video on if you can change your abuser, if they're not willing to change for them, they'll never be willing to change for you. And when I wasn't with this person, I felt like someone punched me in the stomach. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I felt like I needed to hear something, whether it was a hello from a text or a call. I would check my phone obsessively, see if they were on social media, whether they saw my message and didn't respond, whether they were active when I was active and still didn't respond. It was this whole cycle of obsession that was created due to this trauma bond, due to this push-pull technique, the cortisol and the dopamine hit. So I hope my examples, I hope it didn't come out too selfish in the sense that I'm just sharing my story. I really would like you to share your story. My Instagram is above. So always feel free to send me your stories and I can feature them in one of my next videos. Obviously, anything you say is confidential. Names will be changed. Nothing will be associated with you, but it's just a good way to know that we're all in this together. And I have heard multiple stories. I will be including some in addition to my next videos. So that way you can get an idea of what else is going on out here. And of course, if you haven't already, make sure to join my Facebook group. I will link it below. Like I said, the G Spot, a safe place where we just talk and find common ground. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. Push that button somewhere here. Give me a thumbs up, because that actually helps the video to show up more on YouTube and can reach people like you or others who need that help and understanding what the trauma bond is. Of course, and more importantly, share this video with anyone you think needs to know what trauma bond is and what it feels like, because sometimes people don't really, even though they understand the definition of it, they actually don't know how it truly feels on a fundamental level. And yeah, make sure to grab that free guide of yours. It's on my website, completely free. That way you can flip through it and see how the most common gaslighting phrases can increase that trauma bond and how they fuel the trauma bond. And that's it, folks.